Sagittarius, welcome to your story for the week. Although this story may apply to your past or your future, take what resonates and leave the rest. It's merely a story. Today, our stories will be set by the stars. I am using my night sky playing cards, which have various constellations. So the stars will dictate where your story is coming from. Oh, so close. Come on, somebody. Who wants to be in the story? Come on, who wants to be in Sagittarius's story? Everybody, right? Ooh. Oh, lordy. Am I going to be able to pronounce this? Camelopardalis, the giraffe. Winter. The Three of Diamonds. Okay. One cool morning in the Serengeti, a baby giraffe was wandering not far from its mother. Baby giraffe was a couple of months old at this point and was perfectly capable of feeding herself and, didn't need mom to guide her completely. And she was curious and adventurous, as babies often are, especially little Sagittarius babies. So she got up basically before everyone else did and decided that she would try to reach this tree. She noticed that the more she was around, the more she tried, the higher up she seemed to get when she reached her neck out. So she wanted to get there before anyone else did and show them, here we go, all that she could do. But oh no, a great roar went through the land and it startled her and she bucked off mindlessly, absent-mindedly, I should say, and just took off. Not in the direction she expected at all. And by the time she stopped running from this horrific crashing sound that she heard, just shook the land, very land. She had no idea where she was. But she did see a group of humans when she had stopped, and she had never seen them before. And they were shouting making strange noises at her, and there was a really loud roar coming from this big contraption that they all seemed to be standing upon. She didn't understand what sort of rock that was, and she had never seen anything like this. And there were these horrific sounds with tin, almost like just jangling from this contraption they were all standing upon as they pointed at her and shouted. She was terrified, absolutely terrified. Let's get one more. And they didn't just stop and point at her. They got out and started coming towards her. And she was so frightened, she couldn't move. This one just popped. Protection from leaving a trail. Okay. She didn't know what to do. She was frozen. and they were coming for her, and they were loud, and they smelled funny, and she didn't know what the hell they wanted with her. Didn't know what they were gonna do. Didn't know if they were gonna eat her. She'd never seen a human before. And you know, when you're a baby giraffe and you've never seen a human before, they're terrifying creatures. So stinky and loud and entitled. And where were her people? Where were her giraffes? Where was her mom? Where was her family? She thought she was going to get, you know, and show them all like how brave and smart she was. And nope, didn't happen. So one of these humans came right up to her and put its arms around her. She was shaking so hard that she allowed this to happen. She allowed this human to envelop its appendages around her. And she shook. And this person started making, this human started making the most comforting sounds she had ever heard, that she fell asleep. Imagine being a baby giraffe, lost, away from anything you'd ever known, asleep in the arms of a strange human creature. Here we go. When she awoke, she was laying down, and this human that had put its arms around her was still there. And this human had some popcorn, which it was giving to her. And she greedily ate it up and thought it was the most delicious thing she'd ever eaten, and wondered what sort of tree it came from. And the person continued to speak and coo softly at her, making the nicest sounds, just letting her know that everything would be fine, making her feel safe for the first time since she'd been lost that morning. And she realized she couldn't stay here with this human. As much as she appreciated and felt safe in the presence of this human, she had to go. She had to find her way back to where she belonged. Her own people, her own herd, if you will, of giraffes. Her mom, who at this point was no doubt worried sick and probably assumed she'd been eaten. But it was later in the day, and the later it got, the more dangerous it got out there. So she didn't really know what to do. Okay, so we got two here, and these two. Oh, cards are flying. Okay, as they do. Okay, so she knew she needed help. She didn't know if this human could help her, but she started to make a sound, a sort of cry, and looked off around, moving her head back and forth. Where do I go? The human watched her. The human watched her really carefully and stopped cooing. And said, I know you don't belong with me. Although the giraffe didn't know what this meant. I know you don't belong with me, and I'm going to help you get back to where you do belong. So the human took this baby giraffe into her arms and put her on top of that loud metal contraption that she had seen earlier, and drove around until she spotted a herd of giraffes. And the baby giraffe was so frightened that she kept her head down on this journey most of the time. Like she'd never been in a vehicle before, never had experienced any of this before. But she was frightened. She was convinced that she was kidnapped and that she would never see her family again. Her family or her home. But the human spotted this group of giraffes, this herd of giraffe, and stopped. And gently she stroked the giraffe's mane and brought her head up and cooed at her again, asking her, encouraging her to make a sound. And the giraffe let out a cry. And with this loud cry, the giraffe herd, which were wandering around looking for her, lifted their ears and started to cry back to her. And the calling that she put out and that they put out brought them together. So she was reunited with her family. Moral of the story, she was reunited with her herd, her tribe, her people. And she said goodbye to the one who had cared for her. And though it was a sad parting, they both knew that it's what had to be done.